begin with the struggle to educate schools in the time of COVID-19. And all eyes are on Broward this week, where an arbitrator ruled teachers may be required to get back into classrooms to meet operational needs. And bolstering that opinion, the CDC this week reported no significant spread of COVID in classrooms with proper precautions, and evidence that all online learning is negatively affecting students.
We want to talk about all of this with the Broward School Superintendent, Robert Runcie. You see him there, joins us. And right after we hear from Mr. Runcie, we will hear from the president of the Broward Teachers Union. Mr. Runcie, good morning. Great to have you on.
Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Glenna. Pleasure to be on again. Great to see you guys.
And you as well. Mr. Runcie, take us through this arbitration ruling. What does it mean? What does it say?
Well, the arbitrator has confirmed that the memorandum of understanding that we have with our teachers union agreement that we've signed with them, which gives us the flexibility to grant remote work assignments to teachers based on the operational needs of schools, which are driven by the needs of our students. That agreement continues throughout the rest of this year. We have used that agreement to issue now over 700 remote work assignments to teachers that we know have real fears and very serious health concerns. That's probably more than any other district that we know of in the state. But we have to balance three realities that we are dealing with. First is, as you just mentioned, we know a lot more now about our schools and how to keep them safe than we did back in August and earlier in the pandemic. And the data that we have in Broward County and our consultation with public health officials and medical experts clearly show that our schools are significant sources of secondary transmission for the coronavirus.
Superintendent, but before we go through this litany, I really just want to drill down, because one of what the arbitrator said was to meet operational needs, but the opinion also says that the school really has to provide hard data on what those operational needs are. So is this a matter of students, the number of students coming back to school? Detail what that means, and how are you going to show that you have to call those teachers, even those who may be feeling medically not prepared to come back?
Right, so the bottom line is, if we have students in school, they need to have a teacher in the classroom with them, right? We can't warehouse students by putting them in cafeterias, gymnasiums, auditoriums, where they're looking at a computer screen while the teacher is remote. That's inconsistent with state law. It's in the 2021 Spring Educational Plan from the Florida Department of Education. So when students are in school, we have to have teachers there. And so depending on the number of students that are in school, who those students are, is going to dictate what's required. So for example, if I have a language arts teacher in high school that teaches 6 periods, let's say they have 130 students that they deal with, right? So if only 10% of their students come back, they will still need to be there, even if there's just 5, 6, 7 students per class period. Those students will need a teacher for those periods that they're in school.
And what are you doing to make sure that the CDC, what the CDC opined this week was that the classroom is not a significant spreader of the disease if properly prepared for hygiene and safety? So what is the classroom in Broward doing to prepare to accommodate those teachers?
Yeah, so what we've been doing in Broward from the very beginning, since we opened schools on October 9th, was making sure that all students, teachers, all adults within our schools in the district, they're wearing masks at all times. Number 2, that we try to make sure that we're following distancing guidelines to the greatest extent possible, that we continue to do extensive cleaning, sanitization in our schools. All of those things have really paid off for us in terms of keeping the schools as safe as possible, and we will continue to do that. Right now, we have about 38% of our kids back in school. Prior to the winter break, it was around 27%. So we've had about 20 to 25% increase in the number of students that are back in our classroom.
You know, Mr. Runcie, clearly you're the educator. I'm just the reporter, but I've been reading all these studies. Read a really fascinating column Friday in the New York Times by David Brooks, citing studies that say that kids overall, even in a system where remote learning has been perfected or done pretty well like yours, that even then kids have lost so much learning over this past year. I mean, he cited a Stanford University study that said the average student has lost one third of a year in learning capacity, who has been learning remotely, and 3/4 of a year in math. I mean, kids who have not been in school, no matter whether they're rich or poor or, you know, have parents who help them or not, I mean, most kids just need to be back in the classroom, don't they?
That's absolutely right. We have an emerging American tragedy here where we may lose a generation of students if we don't act fast and do what's in their best interest. I can tell you in Broward County, we've seen the number of students who have received failing grades go from 4% to 11%. The number of chronically truant students at the end of the first marking period went from 1,700 to over 8,200. And most alarmingly, we have identified about 59,000 students who we know are not making adequate academic progress. It is also an equity issue.
59,000 students
59,000
not making adequate progress.
Right, and it's an equity issue for us as well, because 84% of that 59,000 are Black and Hispanic students, 24% are students with disabilities, another 34% are students who are English language learners, and almost 70% of them are low-income students. So you have a gap that's continuing to emerge in this country that we have to resolve. I absolutely agree with the Biden administration's push to make sure that all schools in this country are open within 100 days. Of course, we've been really pushing to get that done here in Broward County and have started on that journey.
Superintendent, we're going to be talking to Anna Fusco, who is the president of the Broward Teachers, in just a few minutes. But clearly, you know, you are going to have a fight on your hand from teachers who, I'm just going to throw that out there, teachers by and large prior to COVID, many of them feel unappreciated, put upon. This has just exacerbated what a lot of teachers feel. In Chicago, there's a threatened teacher walkout at the moment over exactly this. What is the plan if Broward teachers start retiring or opting out in some other ways? What's the district's plan to get teachers, qualified teachers, into the classroom to meet operational needs?
Well, let me say, first of all, you know, our district and every district relies on our teachers. There's an argument to be made that our teachers are essential employees. They're essential for the academic and social development of our kids. They're essential for our parents to be able to go to work and for our economy to function. So we absolutely need to do everything we can to make sure that we address the concerns they have. I am very well aware of the concerns that our teachers have, the health conditions and situations that they have. That's why we've granted over 700 of these remote work assignments to those teachers who have health concerns. We're going to try to do the best that we can to balance all of that by making sure that we get as many of our teachers in school as possible to be able to meet the needs of our kids. The teacher issue is a broader issue nationally. Prior to COVID, the number of individuals going into teacher preparation programs at our colleges and universities have been in significant decline and free fall for a number of years. So there's a lot, I think, that needs to be done to improve that profession and create a better environment, probably less regulations, better pay, all of those issues.
Boy, that's a big picture issue that I hope you will come back and we can talk all about that as well. Superintendent Robert Runcie, great to have you with us this morning.
Robert, thanks very much. Always good to speak with you.